What's going on, everyone? It is episode 7 of Beyond the Arc. The Thunder are 21-1. They just keep finding ways to win. Although I will say about the Golden State game, it kind of felt a little bit like the Portland loss. They have a giant first half lead. It gets away from them in the second half, but ultimately down the stretch, the Thunder did everything they needed to do to claim victory number 21. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, bro. I hope you are too. I know the holidays, we're gearing up for Christmas, man. Just been watching a lot of football, of course, watching my beloved Thunder and all the NBA. It's exciting times right now. We get a game every single day.
That's
So
right. That's right. I almost
all of us
wore
can appreciate
my
that.
Dallas Cowboys quarter zip as we recorded this because, look, I am the first to tell you I have zero belief that the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl, but they're on a 3-game win streak. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Chiefs. I don't know. I mean, I gotta enjoy the ride while it's going well because I know there is an end to it very, very soon. I've been hurt too many times.
Hey, man, I'm gonna say this. When the Dallas Cowboys have success, America is better. So that's how we feel in terms of the
Thank
Carolina
you.
Panthers. When the Panthers are playing well, the city of Charlotte and North Carolina and South Carolina, everybody feels better. So I salute you, bro. You in Oklahoma, all
Yeah,
of them are Texas, like they Dallas fans,
yeah.
no NFL team in Oklahoma. So I salute y'all, man. So it's good. Sorry what we did to y'all,
Uh, I know,
but
I know. But hey,
we Carolina.
apparently it's
All love,
destiny.
all love.
Yeah, apparently it's destiny for the Carolina Panthers to win the Super Bowl or to go to the Super Bowl this year because the last 2 times they have
All
been
love.
to a Super Bowl, it comes after Ohio State has won a national championship and J-Lo has filed for divorce. It happened with the Jake Delhomme team coming off an Ohio State national championship and a J-Lo divorce that year. Same thing with the Cam Newton team that made it to the Super Bowl. Ohio State won the national title that year and J-Lo got divorced. And guess what happened? We're coming off another Ohio State national championship from the previous season. J-Lo just got divorced, and this is the best Carolina Panther team, I think, since Cam Newton.
And man, we might have to get J Lo and all the guys she divorced in the same room during the rest of the season. We're gonna get them a suite, right? So
Yeah.
we can sit down the rest of the games of the season because bro really broke that down in that conspiracy thing. And I was like, man, that's kind of interesting. So we need J Lo. J Lo, if you're listening, you look at our show, please come to Charlotte, North Carolina, because we need that kind of luck. We're gonna get there, but we gotta win.
That's right. And
So we gonna
Carolina
see
Mike will
what's going on.
serenade them
That's
in
an
the
interesting,
suite.
right. Yeah, I'm cool with that.
All right,
Mark Anthony, all them guys.
that's right. We got to make it happen. We got to make it happen. All right, so last week when we did the show, J-Dub had not made his season debut yet. Now he's played 3 games. He's back in the fold. You know, I thought that obviously they eased him in to everything that they were doing. But last night against Golden State, I thought was by far the most comfortable he's looked. I thought he looked great on the ball. I thought he looked great in transition, his ability to finish at the rim. It just looked very smooth, and I think it just kind of felt like the old J-Dub was back, and it only took him 2 games to really get there.
Yeah, and I figured that was gonna happen with him. He was gonna funnel right back into the system. And like I said about the guys off the bench, all the guys getting more playing time right now. They'll understand his role and what he brings to that team. So him just running, like getting right back into the system, I knew that he's the second best player on the team, in my opinion. No disrespect to Chet, no disrespect to anybody else. In terms of being important, he's right there. And that's exactly what I knew he was going to be able to come. He's a consummate pro. He knows his role. He knows what he has to do. He's a two-way guy. And, he makes everybody around him better on that wing. Like I said, you got wings that can defend and score when they need to. And you got the maestro up front and Shea. It makes it that much easier for him to come in there and just be comfortable.
You know,
He's in
we
shape. They got one of the greatest, one of the best. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about players in that 65 game rule, and not that this whole roster is full of guys that need the 65 games to make All NBA, because that's just not possible. But when you just really think about it, I don't know how many guys on this roster are ultimately even going to play 70 games. I mean, this is a team that has missed, I mean, almost everybody in the lineup except for the MVP, SGA. Almost everybody has missed multiple games already. You have this long stretch without J-Dub. Chet missed some games early. Right now, it's Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, and Isaiah Hartenstein. Isaiah Joe was out for the first part of the season. I mean, it's Aaron Wiggins just came back into the lineup. I mean, they've had a lot of guys miss time, and I think ultimately the depth is going to allow all these guys to miss time and keep their legs fresh throughout the regular season. But when you really look at it and the amount of mileage that's going to be put on these guys, I mean, they have such a luxury that SGA might be the only guy that really plays a really high game total.
Yeah, honestly, his usage is very high, as it should be. You talk about guys like himself, Luca, some of these Jokic, like some of these people, they have to be on the court to make everything work. They're the engine, and Shea's the engine. And some of these other guys gonna have to get used to that, obviously, moving forward as they get healthy. And now moving into, you know, it's not the dog days yet coming up to All-Star weekend, but we kind of close. You get around January, February, you know. But yeah, I think that them understanding early in the season, he's averaging 31 and playing three quarters, like we spoke about earlier, is like, well, now that's when all of that comes into fruition with guys getting healthy. So now you might see 27 or 28 through 2.5 quarters, and you don't have to rely on him so much. So when May and June comes around, okay, we got a fresh superstar. Guys was having conversations about James and Luca about their usage in the past. They run out of gas in the second round of the playoffs, or Western Conference Finals, or Eastern Conference Finals, or whatever it is. They're looking towards that in Oklahoma City versus, okay, we want to run them through the ground so we can get 70. I don't care if they win 70 games. Long as they're there in June, that's all that matters. And I feel like that's more of the perspective they're coming at in terms of gauging players, making sure everybody's on the same page, gauging minutes, because minutes from coaches and executives is different than players. It's like, no, I should be playing this many minutes. I'm good. I'm fresh. But you don't know what you're going to be in 2 or 3 months. So having that on the same page in terms of organization is number one. I think Denver does a good job of that as well. I think Houston is doing a good job of that as well with KD. You got seasoned guys in there, and that's what's going to really bring you into the right position when it comes to, can we really compete for a championship? Boston did it right for a while.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum, the injuries messed him up, but Boston did that right too.
Obviously, this team was the best in the West the previous 2 regular seasons. They're the reigning NBA champs. We knew they were going to be good coming into this season. People like to have the preseason conversation about how good will they be? Will they break the regular season record? I mean, it takes me a while to really buy into. I mean, it's such a long season, right? 82 games, such a long season. It takes me a while to buy into a team really making a run after that championship mark. And I'm with you in terms of that record. Like, would the Warriors trade those 73 wins for a title that same season? Absolutely, because they didn't win the title that year. A title is much more important than a regular season record, but it's fun to talk about over the course of the regular season. So I've told people, like, when they ask me, can this team do it? I don't know. It's so early, right? There's so much basketball to be played. At 21-1, when do we have the real conversation that we think they're legitimately going to make a run at the 73 wins?
I mean, right now is the time to talk about it. Obviously, you win 21 out of 22 games and everybody's on the same page. This is what we talked about not being complacent. So this is the time. They lost the game, they bounce right back. Then you get Jay Will back, you get Dub back. So now it's, what are we going to continue? Everybody's on the same page. It's insulated in terms of the relationships, in terms of, of course, how they play, the relationships around, like the culture, like the energy within the locker room, within the dinners, the team dinners, within everything. That's exactly what they're showcasing right now because they can find so the real thing is they can find so many different ways to win. They can find different ways to defend. And I just think that the culture is what's leading them into this. Like you're talking about Sam and those guys over there in the front office, they've been through it and they have a real championship pedigree. Really, I tell Sam it's out the mud. Like y'all built this over that, and now look at you. You went through what could have been a dynasty, and now you have what could be in any walk of life, but in this industry, in the basketball, in the NBA, to do that, it's incredible. And to have the guys on the same page, because it's not just like you talking to the older generation all the time. Like it's not like we're trying to base this off the KD, Russ, James Harden, Perk, my brother Nick Collison, all those guys. No, we got a whole new crop of young fellas right now that have bought in. And that's what we're seeing right now, honestly, is that they believe in what's going on through injuries, through anything. They've seen all the adversity. They've seen what to do, what not to do. And now it's to a place where everything's coming into fruition. So hopefully they can keep it going. Like if they lose a game in the next 6 games, it's gonna be like headline news. But that's what you signed up for. It's such a great organization. But I like where they're going. The trajectory is always moving forward with them.
The fun part about them losing games will be like, well, they only have 7 losses left if they're gonna break the record, which will send people into an absolute panic. There was a point last night in the game where the Thunder starters are playing well and they come off the floor and the bench comes in, and I think it was like Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe and Jay Will, and those guys go on a run themselves, right? And I think they extended the lead at that point. And the broadcast crew is like raving about just the depth, and they start talking about how competitive these practices must be when you have this many quality players. They must have just all out wars in practice when they go against each other. So I wanted to ask you, on any of the teams that you played for, did you guys have like all out wars in practice when you're playing 5-on-5? And I mean, what's the closest thing that you had to, guys like playing real life basketball, like really hooping for pride and ego and all that stuff in practice?
That year we lost to the Warriors. It was off the bench. It was Deion Waiters, Ennis Cantor, myself, and Cam Payne. It was like I remember in training camp, Alex Caruso. This is then. I told you my AC
Yeah.
story. And my shout out to my brother Michael Jenkins. He went to Winthrop. He's from Charlotte. I remember they went in training camp and they had to tell them, hey man, back off. Cause Russ is all on go. Like with them, they like, hey, you gotta chill out. You know what I'm saying? So like in practices during the season, it was like I had to guard Kevin Durant. I gotta guard my brother. I gotta guard KD. And I couldn't stop that. You know what I'm saying? I used to have practices where I'm like, I'm just out to make him mad. I'm gonna piss him off, and that's the only thing I could do at the time because I'm like, I can't deal with this. He's taller than me. He got every move in the book. He can shoot over me, everything. But like, I fouled him twice. He's like, that's why you don't get in the game because you get in foul trouble. And I'm like, I don't get in foul trouble. I'm just fouling you today. And it just charged everything up. So like all the guys, me, Dion, Cam, all the guys, Ennis. So our second group was competing so hard. But the coaching staff did a great job of like, shout out to Scott and those guys and Billy when he came. It was like, all right, we can only do this for about 45 minutes, like up and down. We running concepts, whatever. And it's like, we're gonna make this like real work today. Like we ain't just coming here playing. But they were so competitive. Russ, Kev, Serge, Nick, Steven, it was like, we're gonna work today. So it was like always, I used to take it upon myself, like, hey, nah, we're gonna compete. Like hey, let's get at them. Before practice, let's get at them today. Like when we get on, like really be on one today. You know? And that made us better because when we had to come in the second unit, we already had that mentality that we're gonna carry the load for our minutes when y'all get back in here. And a lot of times it worked. We won a lot of games that year, and they finished the games, obviously. But yeah, it get real competitive. It get personal, but it's fun and it's all love. It's a brotherhood, like I always say, it's like a fraternity that you'll never feel again like that at that level.
I mean,
So it's
anybody
fun. Yeah,
who's
it
ever
get
had a
real.
brother has had that moment where you want to punch him in the face, right? Or maybe you do punch him in the face, and then shortly after you
Absolutely.
move past it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a good time though.
Did you guys ever mix up ones and twos where it was not necessarily just like Russ and Kevin and those guys against the twos, but like Russ on one side, Kevin on the other side, and going at each other, and their squads going at each other?
Absolutely. Yeah, Scott used to do that. Hey, Kev, he'll put Kev on the B team. So he's going against the starters with us. And listen, man, when he used to do that, he'll put Russ on our side. Like he'll do it. He'll mix and match it up. He'll do it with the big Steven with us and Ennis on the other side with the starters. And I'm like, yeah, y'all ain't got him now. What y'all go do? Like, we talking junk, bro. You know what I'm saying? And it's out of all love, but it was so competitive because in the real game, it could be like that. You never know when you're gonna jump in and be with the starters, or when you're gonna be, having to finish the game, or you may not finish the game or whatever. You don't know what the lineups are gonna be. So in practice, you got to make that as super competitive as it can be, because every player can be in any different situation, even if it was Kev or Russ. And that was really one of the main factors that made practice really competitive. I'm like, yeah, you ain't on his team no more today. What you doing? What you going what you gonna do today? So it was like fun. It was really fun, competitive fun, you know. And then, like I said, the camaraderie in the locker room after practice, or in the weight room, or in the cold tub, we talking, going back and forth. But then we know that we're gonna all fight for each other the next 2 days against whoever we got to play. It's the same energy.
All right, one more before we change topics. What was the best like player on player rivalry in practice? Because I remember growing up, like I had a best friend that played my same position, and in practices we wanted to kill each other, and we were best friends. But like we had this rivalry in practice where we wanted to kill each other because we're competing for the same minutes, right? So, what was the best like player versus player rivalry on those teams?
Man, that's tough. In practice,
Yeah, in practice.
in practice. Um, man, that's tough, bro, because it was hard to it would probably be damn, that's tough, bro. It was a lot, bro. Um,
That's what I like to hear.
yeah, because it was like everybody. You know what? It might have been might have been Reggie Jackson, Reggie and Russ some days. Because Reggie was fighting for that contract extent, like he was on some others. And Reggie, my guy, but he was he a different dude. But when he got on, Reggie was special, bro. Like for real, he was really, really good. And when he got in the modes where he fighting for his respect, he wanted his contract, he wanted to get his money, and Reggie, it was different. So those days was different because Russ not gonna turn it off. Like Russ make any moment the game. It ain't like, man, I'm just practice, I'm just chilling, like whatever, young. Like, no, he like, you at me, I'm going back at you. And when Reggie got in that mode, it used to get real. Yeah, Reggie and Russ was one of those ones where you kind of sit back and just watch it. Like, yeah, I like that.
We'll
I
just
love it. Let
we'll
the
have to
boys
wait for
go
the
at it.
documentary to
But
come
like I
out
said,
and they release
Reggie
the
better,
tapes, right?
they better come get me. I got a bunch of stories. I love it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Reggie and Russ. But it made Reggie better than it made Russ better at the end of the day. It made the team better. For real, for real.
Well, speaking of making the team better, there. It sounds like there's a chance Giannis Antetokounmpo might make a team better. Most people point to the Lakers as the obvious choice of where he would go for some reason, but Shams sent a sham bomb earlier today, saying that the Bucks and Giannis are going to have discussions about his future and whether or not that is in Milwaukee or somewhere else.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of felt it, but I never thought he would really kind of pull the trigger. You know, when news like that get out, it's probably from his side, from Giannis' side, which is, it makes sense. He did everything he's supposed to do in Milwaukee. If he decides to walk or demand a trade, um, I mean, it's plenty of teams that need him. Obviously, everybody needs that, what he brings to the table. But I don't know. I don't know if the Lakers is a perfect fit for him, but I know they're not going to trade him in. I would expect them not to trade him anywhere in the East. You got to get him out of the Eastern Conference. So I would say I don't know if it'll happen. I don't know if the Lakers necessarily have enough. I want to move off what they have going on to get him. But yeah, the Lakers, or maybe he not going nowhere where they trying to start over. It'd be crazy if they figure something out for him to go to like Denver.
Yeah.
I know that may not work. You got to trade your whole future. But if you get Jamal, Joker, and him, it's gonna be real hard to beat them. For real, after what that means. Defensively, he doesn't have to have as much usage, and he can just attack anytime he want. He can guard 5 positions. Like, it'd be crazy if they got a chance to maybe pull that off. But I can't see them trading him nowhere in the East.
The team to me that makes the most sense, and look, I know that everybody likes the idea of him being in the big market of Los Angeles, but when you look at the Western Conference and the teams that could really utilize a second superstar, to me it's the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, it's Anthony Edwards needs some superstar type of help. I think they have really good role players, but I don't think that's going to
Yeah.
get them over the top. The two-man game with Anthony Edwards and Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think would be awesome. But no matter who trades for him, I mean, I would imagine the arsenal that you have to give up just further depletes your ability to compete with the Thunder's depth in a 7-game series.
Yeah, you gonna have to. Yeah, I mean, you have to give up your whole future picks. Whoever you just drafted in the last 2 or 3 years is gonna. They all have to go. But that's like kind of like the issue now with the play. They not looking for the three-headed monster teams anymore, like the Miamis or back in the day the Boston's. So maybe Miami, if they did trade him in the East, he'll fit right in with Miami. You in a big market. You got Pat Riley, a structure. He could make. You can build around that for right now. 'Cause they already looking to trade a few guys. But I would like to see him with like some guys around that can score, at least one other two-way player, and that he can still be effective. In with how he plays, because he plays a dominant way, obviously. But he needs some guys around him with like real skill set shooting, being able to facilitate an offense, things that he has to do in Milwaukee that he wouldn't have to do elsewhere. So but now Minnesota's interesting. I don't know what all they would be able to give up. Jay McDaniels, some picks. I don't know. But that'd be interesting,
They'd have to move
especially
off
out
Rudy
west,
Gobert, I
because then
think,
you
because
got two guys.
I don't think you could play Giannis and
Gobert
Gobert
got to.
together.
No, he can't do it. You can't do it. That'd be interesting though.
Yeah. All right, let's finish up with this. The Clippers have released Chris Paul. He made the announcement this was going to be his final season, 21 years in the NBA. Really, I think kind of the godfather of NBA basketball in Oklahoma City. When the Hornets came here originally, that was his rookie year. He was kind of the face of the organization that season. The Thunder come a couple years later. Chris Paul eventually comes back to OKC. And look, I'm not saying that SGA doesn't ultimately become a great player if Chris Paul wasn't here, but I thought that when they made the trade and got SGA and brought Chris Paul in that year, I thought having a veteran like that to just kind of teach SGA to be a pro the way that Chris Paul did, I thought was so meaningful. And they did right by Chris Paul at the end of that season by sending him to a contender with the Phoenix Suns, and they ultimately went to the NBA Finals. But I thought that year that Chris Paul was here and him, I thought just the way the entire team really gravitated around him and his leadership. I think they were the 4 or 5 seed in the postseason, which I didn't think that team was probably talented enough to make that, but they kind of came together. I thought, again, his leadership that year was so big for, I think, the maturation process of SGA ultimately becoming the superstar that he's become.
Yeah, that was huge. And I'll just say this for Chris. He's from North Carolina. He's from up the road, Lawrenceville, North Carolina, going to Wake Forest. He was one of the guys that it was in the like the kind of that path of Jeff McGinnis, Jerry Stackhouse, coming out of Charlotte. I mean, coming out of North Carolina in general. And I salute him every day, all the time. Remember Prep Stars camp back at UNC Charlotte when he was being recruited. He was probably like 3-star back then, and then seeing his progression and seeing, his game change over time and playing against him at Wake Forest and, him and Justin Gray, shout out to Coach Justin Gray from West Charlotte. Them picking us up and taking us, out when we were younger. So I salute him from that grassroots stand. You know, it's honorable for 21 years in the league, and he always been feisty, but he's always been a leader. Like outside of basketball, he always been like that. So, for him to kind of groom Shea, the couple years and everything, I feel like that was huge for Shea. I know, and they're very close now. You see Shea
Yeah.
with CJ and little Chris and the kids and the family. Like that's what Chris is. That's what he embodies as a person. And you can see it, obviously Hall of Fame career over time. So I think that he'll have a nice ride into retirement, as he should. But you always want to see the guys like that made an impact on the game and in the community. NBPA, he was the head of the PA, and everything for the players. He changed rules. He got guys paid. He took care of, when talking about health insurance, everything for retired guys. I watched him do it. So and then I actually knew him since I was a kid. So we always salute those guys, man. He stuck around. The injuries. I always wanted to see him get a championship, obviously. But all of us will always be able to salute Chris on this journey. And, he was the leader. We saw him go from a 3-star to he's about to be a top 5 pick in the draft in 2 years. So it was a pleasure to watch his career, man. And he's a staple of what it represents to be a natural point guard. I saw Rajon Rondo say, they asked like, because Rajon's a natural point guard. I know Chris and Rajon used to be like this. I used to love watching them play against each other. Then Rajon said, you know, natural point guard Shea. And when he said that, I immediately thought about, well, he had Chris, so that's something to be said, bro. Like, and he's going to continue to bring his game and bring all of his knowledge and give it right back to the game and the young guys, which is what all of them need, obviously. And he'll do it the right way. So it's cool. And he had a Jordan deal. I was like, damn,
Yeah.
I gotta get like that.
It's a good place
I
to
didn't get
wrap
a
up this
Jordan deal, but I
time.
had a Nike one.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, listen, since we're talking about deals, since you brought up Jerry Stackhouse. I was rocking the Jerry Stackhouse Filas on my 7th grade basketball team. So I'm glad you brought up Jerry Stackhouse so we could, throw that out there.
Shout out to Coach Stack, man. That's my guy. Kinston, North Carolina, man. I had those same stack houses too. I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, and
We in the
I
same
always
era.
I wore the 42 North Carolina jersey in practice. So, yeah, that Tar Heel blue
Yeah,
hits. I know
I
you're a
had the
Georgia
40.
Tech guy, but that Tar Heel blue hits.
I'm a Chapel Hill guy. I was never a Duke guy like that. I'm a Chapel Hill guy. I love my family, my people at Duke, but I had the 42 the Philly Stackhouse jersey
Yeah,
with the Stackhouse shoes. I thought I was the around this earth. And then Allen
absolutely.
Iverson got drafted, so it was all Allen
Yeah,
Iverson.
yeah.
Yeah.
That first year in
But nah,
Philly,
it was my
though,
it
Stackhouse was a dude.
was like that. He
Yeah,
was. I wanted them to
yeah,
stay together, man.
yeah. It would have been fun for sure.
Stack was really a stud. He was like,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, my man. We will wrap it up, and we'll do it again next week. NBA Cup knockout round, I believe, is next Wednesday, and if the Thunder win that, they go to Las Vegas for the semifinals and the finals. So we'll have a lot to talk about at that point. But enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll chat next week.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you, man.